Hi, I'm Ellie, and today we are going to be doing a morning opening flow that will uh, help us get the blood flowing through our bodies and get started with our day. So, as we begin, I think the only things we might need are a couple of blocks and maybe a towel or a blanket to sit up on. So, as we begin today, we'll just start to tune into our breath, sitting in any position that feels really comfortable as we start to wake up our body that might feel tight in all kinds of places. Just tune into the breath a little bit. Notice what it feels like. Is it ragged? Is it soft? Are your inhales feeling really nice and big? Are your exhales relaxed, or could they soften anymore? So we'll just sit here today, palms up or down. Notice the sounds going on around you. Begin to notice the sounds inside of you, the sound of your breath, maybe the sound of your thoughts. Allow yourself to soften and just be part of what's going on in the world today. And as you take just a couple more centering breaths, you might want to bring your hands to the heart. You might want to leave them where they are. And I invite you to enter into an intention with me for this practice and for our day. Whatever feels good to you today, I'm going to have an intention to be open and curious. So I observe myself with openness and curiosity in my practice and throughout the day. One more nice deep breath and a big exhale, sigh it out. We're going to do some seated cat-cows here. So I'm sitting up on a towel so that my hips are elevated just a little bit. I want to keep my spine nice and straight while I'm sitting here. And then when we inhale, we're going to draw our chest forward, keeping the shoulders soft. Big inhale, pressing the chest forward, and exhaling, we're going to draw our belly in and round our upper back. Gently tucking the chin. Nice big exhale all the way out. Inhaling again, pulling the chest forward through the arms, opening up the heart and exhaling back. Really draw in through that belly button. Pull it back toward the spine. Inhaling forward and exhaling back. We'll do that twice more. Notice where you're tightest. Is it in the upper back? Is it in the lower back? Inhaling forward. Widen through those collarbones. Let the shoulders drop and exhaling back through. Round the back. Curving through the spine. And inhaling back up to a neutral spine. Go ahead, exhale and let your fingertips touch the earth or something near the earth. Let them dangle by your sides. Maybe even do a few neck rolls to just let those shoulders soften away from the ears. We're going to let everything release and soften as we begin our day. On an inhale, we'll raise our arms all the way up. If it feels good to bring them together, go ahead. My shoulders are really tight, so I like to keep them a little wider. And then exhaling, we're going to dive off to the side, letting your hand touch, maybe coming down to your elbow if that feels good. Try to keep that opposite hip grounded into the earth. Don't let it pop up because we're trying to get a really long side stretch here. So we're going to take a couple breaths here. Inhaling and exhaling. If it feels good to rotate that neck a little bit, go ahead and do so. Otherwise, stay still. Deepening into the stretch on the exhale, lengthening on the inhale. One more deep inhale and exhale. And on your next inhale, rise all the way up, pulling into that belly, beginning to cultivate that strength in the core. Exhale, hands down to the earth. Roll the shoulders back a few times. Let those shoulder blades sink down the back body. Inhaling, arms up. And exhale, we'll dive off the other way. Let that hand come into contact with the earth. Let your exhales invite you deeper. Feel that stretch all the way from the outer hip, up through the side body, the rib cage, up to the armpit and the arm. Inhaling, lengthening, and exhaling, softening. One more nice deep inhale and exhale here. On your next inhale, rise all the way up. And hands back down through heart center. We'll lean back a little bit and just switch the cross of your legs to get it nice and even. And then we'll arms up. And this time we're going to twist to the right side. My right, your left. Whichever side feels good to start with. It's a really gentle twist here. We're not yanking, we're not pulling really hard on the knee. We're letting it originate from the deep part of our spine and let the rest of the spine follow in a gentle twisting motion. One more inhale. Inhaling, lengthening, exhaling, twisting just a little deeper. And then on your next inhale, returning to center. And we'll twist the other way. Exhaling. Let yourself come. Rest that hand on your opposite knee, but without twisting it too hard. Inhaling, lengthening, and exhaling, moving deeper into the twist. Let the strength of your core kind of be the force that moves you here. Gentle tuck of the chin so we're not moving it up and out, but we're letting the head follow the trajectory of the rest of the twist. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling back to center. And we'll bring our hands to heart center. Feel your heart beating as you welcome this new day. I am open and curious. Now we're going to fold forward. You can fold with your legs crossed and just get a gentle hip stretch. Either way that feels good. Or you can fold in a butterfly here, but a nice wide one. Don't pull your legs in too close to your hips here. We'll just kind of get a soft moving opening up here. So we're really letting ourselves feel it through the outer thighs and keeping our pelvis tucked just a little bit so that our spine stays nice and straight as we move forward into this. We're going to just move really slowly and easily so that we can stop wherever our body needs us to. Moving gracefully like a wave. There's no need to force anything here. We trust our whole body, every cell, to wake up gently as it needs to. Great. Then on the next inhale, go ahead, rise up, and we'll come to our hands and our knees. If your knees need some extra padding, feel free to put your towel or blanket underneath them. We'll see how this feels. I have a lot of padding here. So in our hands and knees pose, our tabletop pose, our hands are directly under our shoulders and our knees directly under our hips. So we are just going to stay here for a second and really root into our fingers. This is not a throwaway pose. I'm drawing firmly up through my lower belly, slightly tucking the pelvis, feeling the whole column of my spine straight and strong. Go ahead, feel your knees and your feet pressing into the earth. Gaze is just about 6 inches in front of the hands. Not letting my shoulders sag, but I'm resisting, pressing away from the earth. Inhaling and exhaling. And on the next inhale, I'm going to put my right toes back and just kind of rock a little bit. Stretch out that calf early in the morning. It feels really good. Just kind of press back however you need to for a breath or two. And then on the inhale, we'll bring that knee forward into our low lunge. So as you rise up here, we want to pull the right hip back just a little, and move that left hip forward so that our hips stay nice and even. We can rise up to this position, our knees directly over the ankle, and as it feels good, lift those hands up on the inhale. Deep breaths in and out. We'll stay here for another breath, letting those shoulders soften away from the ears so they're not scrunched up. If that means you need to widen out your arms to accommodate any tight neck muscles, go ahead and do that. And then on the exhale, come forward. You might need a block here. We're going to just place our left hand down right next to our right heel. And keeping our right hip pulling back, we're going to twist open. So I'm breathing here, trying to get my arms kind of in a straight line, really feeling strong through this whole line of my body, drawing in through the lower belly, but almost feeling a line of energy from my back toes all the way up through the crown of my head. And you can have your arm overhead like this or straight up. Pulling with that right inner thigh, pulling it back toward my left hand, and exhaling, coming back to center, rising up in that low lunge. Nice deep breath. And then exhaling, hands down. We're gonna come into half splits pose. We really want that left hip to stay directly over the back knee as much as possible. It's okay if it draws back a little bit. You can do this, but if we're gonna stay up like this, we want to keep a nice straight line of energy, never locking out the knee though. So we're not sinking into the hips. We want our hips to stay really nice and level, not splaying off to the side. So inhaling, nice flat back, and exhaling forward. Nice deep breath. Inhaling, rising up, and exhale back to our hands and knees, our tabletop. Again, feeling your strength here. And then we'll go ahead and stretch that left leg back and rock forward and back just a few times. Stretch out that calf. There are a lot of muscles in the lower leg, so see if you can connect to any of them that feel more tight or needy than others. And then drawing that knee forward into our low lunge. Again, the left knee is right over the left ankle, and I'm pulling back slightly on the left hip and letting my right hip come forward. So I'm getting a really nice stretch through my hip flexor here. And then inhaling, arms up. Again, really be mindful. Let your attention travel all the way through your body and focus. So if you feel your shoulders start to hunch up, just widen out those arms. Accommodate yourself in your own body. Nice deep breaths, inhaling and exhaling. For me, the biggest stretch right now is right in that hip flexor, so I'm going to send my attention down into it. Letting my left hip stay pulling back so that I don't leak out any energy. And exhaling, coming down. I'm going to bring my block again. And placing my right hand on the ground, I'm just going to slowly twist open, keeping my lower belly drawing in. Continuing to pull back on that left heel and left hip. Feeling the side stretch, feeling the twist, feeling the increased stretch in my hip flexor. And exhaling, coming back down to center, nice and straight. And then we'll straighten out that front leg. I like to tuck my back toes under as I do this into this half split, half Hanumanasana pose. Keep that spine nice and straight. So if you need to be raised up on blocks here, that's totally fine. I'm going to keep pulling back to that left hip and really feel this deep hamstring stretch. We'll take one more nice full breath here. And exhaling. And we'll draw that knee back, come back to our tabletop. And then keeping our hips where they are, right over our knees, we're going to walk our hands forward and let that chest fall down. Bringing ourselves into a heart to earth pose, our puppy pose. Sometimes this is really, really relaxing for people. I'm very tight through every part of my shoulder, so this is pretty intense. So I am going to focus really hard, spinning my inner thighs back and drawing into the lower belly. If your chest touches the ground, that's great. If your forehead does, that's awesome. If nothing touches except your hands, that's perfect too. Just breathe here, observe what's going on with gentleness and curiosity. Deep breathing here. One more inhale and exhale. And then on the exhale, we'll come all the way through and let your belly come down to the earth. We'll rise up into our cobra pose. Stretching out, opening up that heart. Maybe looking over one shoulder and looking over the other. Really drawing the shoulder blades down the back. Feeling your own body. Where do you need to give yourself some more grace today to open up nice and wide? And then exhaling, we'll come back up into our hands and knees, and with our hands just a little bit forward of our shoulders, tuck the toes under and pull up through that belly, and we'll just straighten out our legs, sticking our butt up into the air, into that downward dog. We'll stay here for just a few breaths right now. You can go ahead and pedal out your feet if that feels good. If you're really, really tight in the morning, sometimes it's really nice to widen out your hands a little bit, widen out your feet a little wider, maybe as wide as your mat, and then bring them back in. So our hands are about shoulder width, and our feet are about hip width, hip socket distance, that is. Imagining as we breathe in that we can draw energy up through our fingertips from the earth. Let it travel all the way up the spine, up into the sacrum, and then exhale the energy all the way down the legs. Soft and strong. Now, just a few times we're going to kind of get our blood flowing by rippling forward into plank here. So a nice deep inhale and exhale, and on the inhale we're going to ripple all of our energy forward, coming up onto our toes and rippling forward into our plank pose. Tucking that pelvis under, gentle tuck in the chin. We're going to let our spinal column be one nice straight line of energy. Nice deep breath, inhale and exhale here. One more inhale, and then exhaling back in a downward dog. We'll do that twice more with the breath. So inhaling forward and exhaling back in a downward dog. One more time, inhaling forward, filling up with energy and with air and with breath, and exhaling, letting the energy out. Now, on the inhale, raise up that right leg, keeping our hips level. So we're not opening up too much here today. We're just going to really flex that foot as though you could plant your foot on the wall behind you. Nice deep inhale, feel the stretch all the way down the left leg. And exhaling, bring it forward into our high lunge. So again, our knee is still directly over that ankle. We're scissoring our legs together, rising up. We're going to tuck our pelvis just a little bit so that we're going to keep our hips level. So if you need to bend your back knee just a little bit and then straighten it out as much as you can, go ahead and do so. Keep pulling that right hip back ever so slightly. Hips nice and even here. And then keeping our legs just as they are, we're going to do just a little bit more of that twisting to open up our heart energy and get our spine warmed up for the day. So on our inhale, we'll lengthen up through our spine, and on the exhale, just open up our arms, keeping our bottom the same as it is. Exhaling here. And then we'll inhale up, back to center, facing forward. And exhale into our open arm twist. One more time, inhaling up. And exhale into our open arm twist. Go ahead and stay here for one more extra breath. Inhaling and exhaling. And then back up into crescent, into our high lunge. Feel how solid and how strong you are through that front thigh. And then a nice big inhale, and we'll exhale, opening up that back foot into warrior two so that our front heel is aligned with our back arch and our hips are really even. Our knee is pointing directly out over our toes, aiming for that 90-degree angle in the leg. But it is not a problem however big our angle is. We're going to let our spinal column stay nice and straight. Maybe for a nice breath, go ahead and inhale your palms up to the sky to help remember to relax through those shoulder blades and soften them away from the ears. And then exhale, turn the palms over and let them sink down. Nice deep breaths here in our warrior two, really strong. One more breath here. Inhaling, exhaling, sinking down. And on the next inhale, we're going to reverse our warrior, taking our back hand to the thigh or the calf, above or below the knee, never on the knee. You can raise your arm up or you're stretching nice and long through the side body here. And then inhaling, we're going to come all the way forward into our side angle pose, placing our right arm on our right knee, still pulling that right hip back a little bit and spinning that thigh under so that we're nice and even. Staying here for a breath or two. Really focusing on opening up through this other side body, nice, long, all the way up through the armpit. Coming back up into warrior two. And then we'll straighten out that front leg. So here we are, our legs are the same, our feet are still facing the same way, but our right leg is really straight. And we're pulling back up through that hip. We'll come into reverse triangle. Really moving slowly, letting yourself feel grounded. Feel every part of your foot that's touching the earth. On the next inhale, rising up, we're going to come into triangle pose. If you want to get a block, go ahead and do so. I like to grab it before I go into triangle. So I'm going to keep pulling this right hip back underneath me, and I'm going to lean my body out over as far as it'll go. And then as soon as I'm kind of to that spot where I can't go anymore, I'll just tip over. Inhaling and exhaling. My arms are straight, my neck is soft. Looking straight out in front of you or possibly up to the sky, up to your hand. Pulling that right hip underneath you, pressing through that knife edge of the back foot. Inhaling, exhaling. One more deep breath here. Inhaling, nice long spine. Exhaling. We're going to rise up, back into warrior two. And circle the arms down. We're going to come into our tabletop pose again. And just come down into our, with our belly on the mat and come into cobra. Open up that heart again. Coming back up. We'll meet back in downward dog, and we'll raise that same leg up again. Right leg up, hips even, our foot flexed firmly. You rotate that foot a few times if you want. Warm up that ankle and drop forward. Rising up into warrior two again. Just for a breath here. This is kind of our meeting point. And then on the next inhale, turn both toes out, raise both arms up into our 5-pointed star. We're really drawing firmly up through the heels all the way into our core. And then exhaling into our goddess squat. So I'm going to try really hard to keep my pelvis tucked under here. Strong through my legs. I am open and curious as I observe my practice. Nice strong legs here. And then we'll just do a couple more with the breath, opening up on the inhale into 5-pointed star and exhaling into our squat. Inhaling, open, and exhaling. Let those shoulder blades soften down the back. Inhaling, open heart, and exhaling, strong. And we'll come back into our warrior two. Windmilling the arms down, maybe pausing for just a second here in the low lunge. Knee back into our knees, our chin and our chest down, and rolling up into cobra. Look over that left shoulder, look over the right shoulder, look inward. Exhaling back down, and then pressing up into tabletop, and then into downward dog. Go ahead, recenter yourself here. We're going to move through that whole sequence on the second side. So lifting up our left leg, foot flexed firmly, pressing through the fingertips and imagining that I'm stomping on the wall behind me. Even hips. And exhaling that leg forward so that my knee is directly over my heel. And I'm going to make sure my feet are a little wider. They're not in line with each other, but I'm going to give myself some good stability, a nice strong base. So tucking my pelvis under, maybe bending that back knee, and rising up into crescent lunge. Sink in here. Feel how strong your legs are. Feel your base. Spread out your toes. Feel your heel firmly pressing into the earth and rise up out of it. Let yourself be comfortable with discomfort. Feel your blood coursing through. The mosquitoes are loving my coursing blood right now. Nice big inhale, and as we exhale, we'll do that nice open arm twist, keeping our legs just as they are, opening up toward that bent leg. Inhaling, facing forward, and exhaling toward the leg. Inhaling one more time, and exhaling. Nice twist. Keep pulling that left hip under you and back. One more breath here, in and out, and then rising up to our crescent lunge, and then opening up into warrior two. So my back foot is almost parallel with the back edge of the mat. Heel to arch alignment. I'm going to keep drawing this left hip underneath me so that it's not splaying out. My knee is pointed in the same direction as my toes, right over my heel. Same thing here. Inhale, turn the palms up, and let the shoulder blades soften and release down away from the neck. And exhale, soft and strong. Gaze out directly over the middle fingertips. One more nice deep breath here. And on your next inhale, lift that left arm up and send the right arm back down the leg, above or below the knee. Stretching through the side body, feeling a really long line of energy. Inhaling and exhaling soft. On your next inhale, rise back up into warrior two. And lean out over that leg, dropping the elbow. Exhaling the arm up. Spinning the right leg under, and the left hip is curling underneath to stabilize me. I'm not forcing my arm to go further than it wants to go right now because I'm just letting myself open. My mind and my body are open. And if you start to shake a little bit, that is okay. Inhaling back up to warrior two and straightening out that leg. We're going to draw this left hip nice and firmly under. I'm going to get my block in preparation. And then I'm going to raise my arms back up, reminding these top neck muscles, those upper traps, to just relax. Just release and soften. They are not needed right now. And I'm going to inhale and exhale out as far as I can go, leaning out, keeping my lower belly pulled in, and exhaling down, opening up into my triangle pose. I think I missed reverse triangle, but that's okay. We are just here to move and notice. Nice deep inhales and exhales. My wrists are always sore, so I just like to circle them and keep them moving. And then we're going to come forward and lower that back knee down a little bit and come into our tabletop and back down, lowering our chin and our chest, coming up into cobra pose and releasing down. Coming up into a nice deep cobra, maybe up into upward dog where our thighs and knees are off the ground. That doesn't feel so good for me right now, so I'm just going to stay with my thighs on the ground, spinning my inner thighs up toward the ceiling, pressing out of my hands and letting my shoulder blades sink down my back. And coming back down to the earth. Press up into tabletop, tuck my toes under, and I come back into downward dog. Take a breath here and notice what's going on with your body, how the blood is moving, how you're feeling warm and open. And then on your next inhale, lift up that same left leg. Keep those hips even. Circle your ankle in one direction or the other if that feels good. And then coming back forward, bring that leg all the way forward. Lowering the back leg, we'll come back up into our warrior two. Again, really wide through the collarbones. Let those shoulder blades sink down the back. My whole torso is one line of energy. You can adjust your hips, feel what they're doing. Don't be married to what the pose is supposed to look like. Really feel what your body does. And then on an inhale, we're going to turn both our toes out and rise up into 5-pointed star. And on the exhale, turn your heels out, hands to hips, and just fold forward. You might place your hands on the ground. You might not. You might keep them on your hips. And just hang out here in a forward fold for a second. Don't lock out through the knees, but draw strongly up through the arches of the feet, pulling the energy all the way up into the hips. Pull the heels back in and coming up into 5-pointed star. We'll exhale back into our warrior two and spiraling the arms down. Go ahead and feel whatever stretch you need to. Draw that knee back. We'll come into our knees and chin and chest. Rising up into cobra. And then from here, we'll come into a plank pose for just a minute. And you can do it on your forearms or on your hands. What we're going to do is I'm going to come onto my forearms because it helps me make sure I'm not cheating. Spreading my fingers out really wide. My elbows are the same width as my shoulders. And my wrists are straight in a line with my elbows. So my middle fingers are pointing directly forward. I'm going to press firmly through my thumb and forefinger and then just step my feet back for a second. Gently tucking the pelvis, imagining that you're walking along the spine all the way up through the crown of the head. One more nice breath here. And lowering the knees. We'll come into that heart opening pose again, our puppy pose. Try to feel that your hips are directly over the knees. And exhaling, sink down. Inhaling and exhaling. Coming forward to release the pose. Into cobra. And the rise back up into tabletop. Now we're going to slow it down just a little bit. We've been working really hard. So I'm going to move my towel forward so it's right under my knees again. And from tabletop, we're going to find that good point of stability again. So really drawing up through the core, pressing away from the earth, gently tucking the chin so that I'm not collapsing my head. And then I'm going to kick my right leg out just a little bit and open up into a modified side plank. So I'm using my right leg as a kickstand kind of, and I'm really going to squeeze my shoulder blades together and press down through my left foot, through the edge of my left foot, so that I feel my whole leg engage. I'm going to take 2 more breaths here. Letting my fingertips be filled with energy. And then if you can, we'll raise up that leg, really originating the strength from the core. And if it feels good, if you feel like it, maybe reach back, grab the top of that foot, and open up into a modified sugar cane. And I'm keeping some of my attention in my right hand, my stabilizing hand. So right now this stretch feels really great, maybe on the hip flexor, on the quad, possibly on the chest, those pectoral muscles. Wherever you're tightest is where you're going to feel it the most. So relax and gently release. Coming back up to that nice strong pose. Don't sink down too much into that right shoulder, but keep it really strong. And then exhaling back into our tabletop. Go ahead and do a cat-cow here, just to kind of release. We'll inhale into cow pose, drawing the chest forward, the heart open, widening through the collarbones, lifting the chin and tailbone up. And exhaling, drawing up through the core, through that belly button, rounding through the upper back. 2 more times, inhaling forward, bringing the heart through the gates of the arms, and exhaling up. Inhaling forward, and exhaling. Letting the head be heavy. Coming back into neutral spine. Feel your core, feel your hands, feel your feet. This is our strong tabletop pose. And we'll do that on the second side. So just kickstanding our left leg out just ever so slightly. We'll straighten out our right leg. My hand is right underneath my shoulder. And I'm going to open up into this modified side plank. Squeezing my shoulder blades together. Nice straight line of energy there. Letting the blood move freely. Letting the breath move. follow whatever sensations are going on with you. Be a good observer, an open and curious observer of your body and your practice. One more nice deep breath. And on the inhale, if you can, we'll raise that leg up into our modified half moon. Really keeping that left hip pulling under. You are strong as you prepare for your day. If it feels good, bend that leg, reach for your foot, and open up, stretching through the quad, through the hip flexor, through the pectoral muscles, even into the deltoid a little bit. And releasing slowly, exhaling back into our tabletop. Awesome. Now, go ahead and we are going to come into a camel pose here. So it's a really deep chest opener. So we'll just take a moment to sit back, catch our breath, sit however feels comfortable. You can sit with your toes tucked under, wake up those feet, or just sit back on your heels, or you may be even moving the calves out of the way, sit back between the heels. If you do this, we want your knees facing directly forward. You don't want them splaying out wider than your hips because that can be really dangerous for your joints. Toes pointing straight back, knees pointing straight forward. That might not feel good at all. If none of those feel good, you might try standing up on your knees and putting a blanket right here and just sitting back like that. Nice deep breaths. Sometimes if you start feeling your blood moving a little bit too fast, or you start getting a little lightheaded, it can be nice to really release tension with a nice out breath through the mouth. And then as you're ready, come back to that nice deep Ujjayi breathing, slight constriction in the back of the throat. Letting our breath be even. Now we'll rise up onto our knees. I'm going to put this back under my kneesies. We'll stand up all the way onto our knees here. And taking our hands to our lower back, we're just going to gently tuck that pelvis under. We don't want to be having too much sway back here. We don't want to put any unnecessary pressure on the lumbar spine. Throwing up through the belly, flip our hands over, roll the shoulders back, and open up the heart. Inhaling, pressing the heart forward, exhaling, opening up deeper. Inhaling, lengthening out, exhaling, softening into the pose. Inhaling, and one more nice deep exhale, and on the inhale, arms up, and sit back. We'll do that twice more. So we'll come back up to the knees, hands to the back, the lower back, top of the glutes here. You really can do it however feels good. So we'll roll those shoulders nice back, let those shoulder blades sink down and widen through the collarbones. Inhaling, heart open, and exhaling, soften into it. Nice big inhale, and if it feels good, you can release your hands to your heels, really pressing up, using the muscular energy of your hands to press through the heart. Nice deep inhale, exhale, soften further into the pose, spinning your inner thighs back, getting a stretch to the whole front of the body. Now, if your hands are on your heels, on your next inhale, bring them both to the lower back at the same time, coming up. And exhaling, sit forward. See if you can feel internally your heartbeat. Is your heart beating faster now? Do you feel blood moving through the front of your body, to your head, to your legs, to your feet, to your hands? Connect to your body. And on your next inhale, go ahead, rise back up to the knees. One more nice camel pose. This time, we'll raise our hands up on the inhale. And exhale, you can bring them to your lower back or back to your ankles or heels, pressing up. Inhaling, exhaling. Nice, even breathing. Let your head drop back if that feels good. I don't have the muscular energy in my neck to bring my head back up, so I keep it where it is. Inhaling, opening through the chest and the collarbones. Exhaling, softening and pressing further open the heart. Opening deeply, preparing for this open-hearted day. Next inhale, rising back up. And exhaling, we'll come into a nice child pose. So bringing our knees wide and our toes together, just sink back. You can have your arms by your sides or out in front of you if you want that longer stretch. But move slowly with intention, feeling deeply into your lower back. And rock back and forth a little bit if it feels good. If your forehead will rest on the ground, you can let it. If that's too much, you can let it rest on a block. Spread through the fingertips and just let your body lengthen out. Give it a moment here. I move with openness and curiosity. Let your attention travel through your body. Here you are in the world, in your body. What's your body doing today? Connect deeply to that breath. On your next inhale, go ahead and rise up. And we'll do a little eagle arm pose. I'm just going to face you. So you can sit in any kneeling position that's comfortable for you. Maybe just placing that blanket or towel between the backs of your legs and your calves, giving yourself a little bit of space there. That's what feels good to me right now. We're going to do an eagle arms pose. So we are going to cross our right arm underneath our left and then fold them up and either touch the backs of the hands, or if you can wind them around and the fronts of the hands can touch, go ahead and do that. Inhaling, actually I'm going to face this way. Exhaling, let the shoulder blades relax. And as the shoulder blades release and soften down, then you can lift your elbows up just a little bit. Or maybe a lot. Maybe you're really, really loose here. We pull the elbows away from the body and let the shoulder blades sink down. Try not to let your lower back pop out or your ribs pop out too much. Stay strong. And we'll rise up with a nice inhale. And let our hands come down. Bring those hands back out. This time we'll put our left arm underneath our right. And inhaling. Exhaling, the shoulder blades sink down the back body. Inhaling. Draw the elbows up ever so slightly. One more breath here. Inhaling, exhaling, and soften and release. And then we'll just come to our staff pose. Hopefully our shoulders are open now and our hips are a little bit more. I'm still going to sit up on my blanket, which is actually just a beach towel. Sit here, put it right under my sits bones, moving that fleshy part of the glutes out of the way. I'm going to straighten out our legs and really flex the feet strongly so my toes are pointing right up toward the sky. Inner thighs are kind of just slightly rolling down. Even with all that, my shoulders are still a little bit tight and don't totally want my hands to touch the ground. So you can bring your blocks underneath you if that feels good. That's a little bit too much, so I'm just going to let my hands soften here and hang a little bit. Maybe my palms will come to touch. As I inhale, I'm imagining the staff of my spine drawing up toward the sky. And as I exhale, I keep that length and let all the flesh around it soften and release down. My legs are firm and strong here. I'm aware of my whole body. I'm letting my collarbones be wide. My heart is open. My spine is straight and strong. Inhaling, exhaling, letting the whole body sink around my strong spine. On the next inhale, go ahead, raise your arms up, and we'll fold forward, keeping our inner thighs spiraling inward and down. We're hinging from the hips here, so I'm not rounding forward. It doesn't matter how far we get. We're letting gravity take us where our body's going today. I'm just following my body. Sometimes you feel this very strongly in the hamstrings and the whole back of the leg because that is the muscle that's getting stretched out, but sometimes you just feel it mostly in your lower back. So wherever you are today, just notice that, allow it. Our bodies change drastically from day to day, from hour to hour. And here we are, loving ourselves with openness and curiosity. One more deep breath like this, and then we will just soften and round forward. Sometimes in the morning, our fascial bands are really tight down the back of our body, so even just curling your head under, you might feel a different sensation that goes all the way from the crown of your head down to your feet even maybe. It's important that if we're doing a kind of a rounding pose, we're just really soft. Inhaling, we'll roll back up to our seated pose. And then we'll do a little bit of a hip stretch here. So I'm going to keep my left leg straight or bent, whatever works for you. We'll bend it right now just to start. And I'm going to bring my right leg up, either holding the foot and the knee and just bringing it in as much as I can, maybe forklifting with the arms. If your hip is open enough, you can put your knee in the crook of your elbow and your other foot in your elbow and just kind of cradle it. Bending the knee of the other leg in like this will help relieve some pressure. If it feels okay, you can also extend that leg. Right now, we don't want to sacrifice our form for getting deeper into a pose. So we're just going to make sure whatever we're doing is going to let our spine be really straight. So maybe that means we just allow ourselves to not be super open. Maybe rock side to side if it feels really good. And then exhaling, go ahead, place that leg down on the ground. We want both hips to stay connected to the earth. And we'll putting our right hand behind us, lifting that left arm up on the inhale, and exhaling, hugging that right knee in. Inhaling up and exhaling with that nice twist. Taking a walk with our eyes, remembering that we are not here to yank ourselves into any twist. We're following our body and encouraging it to just move a little bit deeper, safely, softly. One more nice deep inhale, lengthening up the spine, and exhaling, moving a little bit deeper. Inhaling back to center. Bring both of our legs out for just a second, and then we'll tuck that right leg in and bring our left knee up into our arms. So I'm just going to grab the left knee with my left hand, right foot, keeping that foot flexed. My spine is nice and straight. This is where sitting up on a cushion can really help whenever we're stretching at our hips. Maybe forklifting with our elbows, rocking however feels good. Maybe coming into this deeper stretch. This hip's a little bit more open. Let your collarbones be nice and wide. Let them stay wide. That's sort of the theme of the day. Wide collarbones, open heart. Sitting up nice and straight and tall. Inhaling, maybe straightening out that bottom leg if that feels good. As you twist and rock a little bit, if you move really slowly, you'll notice the different angles give you a slightly different stretch. So just feel where your glutes need the stretch the most right now. There are a lot of gluteal muscles in there. Pretty insane and intense and strong. So move in a way that serves your body. And then exhaling, we'll place that left foot down on the ground, bending the right knee underneath us, sitting up nice and straight. Place the left hand behind you. Inhaling up and exhaling, twist, hug that knee in. Both my sit bones are connected. They're not popping up off the earth. They're both stable and firmly down. And I use that as my anchor. Inhaling, lengthening the spine, exhaling, twisting a little bit deeper. As you exhale here, let your gaze be really soft and just let it follow whatever it lands on. Take it all in without judgment. It's an openness and curiosity practice. One more deep inhale and exhale. And on the next inhale, returning to center. We will just lower slowly onto our backs. Drawing the knees into our chest. Rock side to side a little bit, maybe make small circles on your lower back. Nice massage here. And then letting our feet fall onto the floor. Just bring your feet about mat width. And we're just going to windshield wiper our knees side to side a little bit. We've done a lot of work today, opening up and preparing for the day. And now we're getting ready to bring our body into rest and relaxation. Draw those knees back into the chest again. Hug tightly onto the right knee and straighten out the left leg if it feels good. If it doesn't, you could just bend your knee, put the foot on the floor. But if it does feel okay, open it up. We'll get some nice compression here into that hip joint. Straighten out through that leg a little bit, holding anywhere behind the thigh, the calf, maybe the foot, maybe the toe. Don't strain your shoulders here. And then both knees into the chest again. And we'll straighten up that right leg. Maybe putting that foot flat on the floor. Draw that left knee strongly in. Compression in that hip. Deep breath as though you could breathe into the hip socket and exhaling out. And straighten out through that leg for just a minute. Allow yourself to feel the effects of all the work you did today. The more open and curious I am, the more open and curious I can become. One more time, drawing the knees into the chest. And then we'll lengthen out in preparation for Shavasana. The most important pose of the day, of course. So let our spine be nice and long. Get yourself comfortable, whatever feels good. Our shoulder blades come into contact with the earth. We roll our shoulders out so that our chest can just be really open and soft. Our feet flop open. Maybe roll your head from side to side a few times to let your neck feel neutral. If you need something under your head or neck, go ahead and do that. This is our time to integrate all the work that we've done into our body. Rest in the stillness of openness and curiosity. Nice deep breath and exhale out through the mouth. Come back in a really natural breathing. Let your breath be soft. Imagine the floor rising up to meet you. And let yourself just fall into the sounds, the sensation. Be still. As you begin to wake up your body, slowly wiggle your fingers and toes. Take a deeper breath all the way into your belly and then let it out. And then imagine your breath filling up your whole body, traveling down your arms, waking up your limbs. Opening you with joy and curiosity and love. Arms overhead for a nice big stretch. Eyes closed or open. And then we'll sit up gently, drawing the knees in, rolling off to one side and pausing for a moment, honoring all the good work that you've done today already. Using the strength of our arms to press back up to seated. We'll come into a cross-legged position. I am filled with openness and curiosity. Bring our hands together at the heart center. Thank you so much for joining me today. May you be loved and loving today, and may you be radiant. Namaste.